Do not answer if you hear your name in the dark. The voice that called my name sounded exactly like my mother's. It came from the darkness beyond my bedroom window, soft and beckoning. Mara, ... Amara, come quickly. I need your help. I almost answered. The words coming, Mother, were already forming on my tongue when I remembered my mother was visiting my aunt in the next village. She wouldn't return until morning. Whatever called my name from the darkness was not my mother. And that realization saved my life. In our village, we have one rule that must never be broken. Do not answer if you hear your name in the dark. No matter how familiar the voice or how urgent the plea remains silent. Those who answer are never seen again. My name is Amara, and I'm about to tell you what happens when the darkness learns your name, and why you should never, ever respond. The first disappearance. Nyambani is a small village nestled between rolling hills and an ancient forest. For generations, our elders passed down warnings. Never enter the forest alone. Never leave food outside after sunset, and never answer if you hear your name called after dark. As children, we dismissed these as stories meant to keep us obedient. That changed when Jabari disappeared. Jabari was my closest friend. We were both 15, caught in that restless space between childhood and adulthood. During the harvest celebration, while adults gathered in the village center, we children played hide-and-seek in the shadows. I was counting against a tree when I noticed Jabari standing at the village's edge, staring into the darkness. Jabari, I whispered. You're supposed to hide. He didn't turn. He seemed transfixed. Do you hear that? He asked, his voice distant. I listened, but heard nothing except night, insects, and distant drums. Someone's calling me, he said, taking a step forward. Jabari, don't. I reached for his arm, but he was already moving, walking steadily toward the darkness, as if pulled by an invisible thread. I have to go, he said. They need me. Before I could stop him, he vanished into the night. The search party found nothing, not a footprint, not a scrap of clothing. 3 days later, Jabari's wooden pendant appeared hanging from his mother's doorpost, carved with strange symbols no one recognized. That's when we knew the old warnings were true. The pattern emerges. For a while after Jabari's disappearance, everyone in Nyambani was careful. Children stayed indoors after sunset. No one ventured out alone. Protective charms hung from doorways, but caution fades with time. 6 months later, Elder Kamau vanished after checking his goats one evening. His wife said she heard him speaking outside, responding to someone, though she saw no one. A month after that, twin sisters from the village edge disappeared on the same night. Their father heard them whispering by the window before they slipped outside. Each disappearance followed the same pattern. People reported hearing their names called in familiar voices. And each time, something belonging to the missing person would appear days later, marked with those same strange symbols. My grandmother, our oldest resident and keeper of ancient stories, gathered everyone together. This has happened before, she said, her voice brittle with age, but firm with certainty. When I was a girl, 7 people vanished over a single moon cycle. The elders called it the naming. She explained that ancient creatures lived in the spaces between our world and the next beings that couldn't enter our homes unless invited. They learned our names by listening, then called to us in the voices of those we trusted most. Why do they take people? Someone asked. For hunger of many kinds, my grandmother answered. These beings feed not just on flesh, but on fear, on innocence, on potential. They crave what is most alive in us. How do we stop them? I asked. In the old days, the village would choose someone to enter the forest and make an offering. Sometimes this worked. Sometimes, ... She didn't finish. She didn't need to. That night, the village council selected Bakari, our most respected healer, to enter the forest. The next morning, we found his staff outside the village, marked with those same symbols. Bakari was never seen again. The Whispering Stone. Desperate for answers, I visited my grandmother's hut. "Grandmother," I said, sitting beside her, cooking fire. "You know more than you told everyone, don't you?" She studied me, then sighed. "There are truths too dangerous to speak openly. The creatures, they listen." "I need to know," I insisted. "Jabari was my friend. The twins were my cousins." She nodded slowly, then removed a smooth black stone with a hole through its center from a pouch around her neck. "This is a whispering stone," she said. "Look through it at twilight, and you may see what is usually hidden. But be warned, looking makes you visible to them as well." I took the stone, feeling its strange warmth against my palm. "Those who are taken," I asked, "are they dead?" "Not at first. The creatures keep them, change them, use them. The voices that call from the darkness, they once belonged to people like us. And Jabari might still be alive. The others too, perhaps. But what returns would not be what was taken." As I left, she called after me. "Amara, promise me you will not go looking for them." I promised, but some promises must be broken. Through the stone. That evening, as twilight settled over the village, I took the Whispering Stone to the edge of our settlement. With trembling hands, I raised it to my eye and peered through the hole. At first, nothing seemed unusual, just trees against the darkening sky. Then the world began to change. The spaces between trees deepened, stretching endlessly. Shadows moved in ways they shouldn't, curling like smoke. And at the edge of my vision, I saw figures tall, thin figures that bent at impossible angles. They moved with terrible grace, drifting between trees like seeds on the wind. I couldn't see their faces clearly, but I sensed they were ancient, older than our village, older perhaps than humanity itself. As I watched, one figure stopped. Though distant, I felt it turn toward me with horrible precision. It knew I was watching. I dropped the stone and ran back to my hut, heart pounding. That night, I dreamed of tall, thin figures circling our village, whispering names into the darkness. My name was among them. For 3 nights after using the Whispering Stone, nothing happened. I began to hope the creatures hadn't noticed me. Then, on the 4th night, I woke to the sound of my name, Amara. It was Jabari's voice, coming from outside my window. Not as I remembered it, there was something wrong with the rhythm, as if he had forgotten how to speak. "Amara, ... help me. I'm lost." I pressed my hands over my ears. "Do not answer. Do not acknowledge, Amara. Please. It's cold out here. I've been looking for home for so long." His voice broke, followed by what sounded like sobbing. Every instinct urged me to help my friend. I bit my lip until I tasted blood, fighting the impulse. "They're coming back for me, Amara. If you don't help me now, I'll be gone forever." I reached for the Whispering Stone beneath my sleeping mat. Summoning my courage, I raised it to my eye and looked toward the window. What I saw wasn't Jabari. The figure outside was tall and thin, its limbs too long, its movements jerky like a puppet. It pressed something that might have been a face against my window, a face with too many features, constantly shifting. I stifled a scream. The calling continued until dawn, becoming less like Jabari with each passing hour, until by morning, it was just a hollow echo repeating my name without emotion. When the sun rose, I found Jabari's second necklace hanging from my window frame, covered in fresh symbols. The forest path. I knew I couldn't wait any longer. Whatever had taken Jabari was now aware of me. It would keep calling until one night I answered. Instead of waiting, I decided to seek answers. If looking through the Whispering Stone had made me visible to them, perhaps it could also help me find where they took their victims. I told my grandmother everything. The figures I'd seen, Jabari's voice, the necklace. "You've drawn their attention," she said gravely. "They won't stop now. Then help me fight them," I pleaded. She was silent, then said, "There is a place in the Foresta clearing where our worlds touch most closely. The elders called it the naming place. If your friends still exist in any form, that is where they would be kept. How do I find it? The Whispering Stone will guide you. But Amara fear sharpened her voice. Going there is walking willingly into their trap. I don't have a choice, I said. They're already hunting me. That afternoon, I prepared. I gathered salt which my grandmother said the creatures couldn't cross and iron nails they supposedly feared. I took a small drum, remembering that rhythmic sounds could confuse spirits. And I took a knife, though I doubted it would help against things that weren't truly flesh. As sunset approached, I slipped away from the village. My grandmother agreed to cover for me, but made me promise to return before midnight, when their power is strongest. At the forest's edge, I hesitated. Taking a deep breath, I raised the Whispering Stone to my eye. Through it, I saw a faint path, glimmering among the trees, not physical, but a trail of light like fallen stars. I followed it into the forest. The naming place. The deeper I went, the stranger the forest became. Trees grew at impossible angles. Vines moved subtly without wind. The sounds of night creatures faded, replaced by pressing silence. Through the stone, I followed the path winding deeper than I had ever gone before. Occasionally, I glimpsed movement at the corners of my vision, tall figures keeping pace, watching from a distance. Eventually, the path led to a clearing. In the center stood a circle of stones, ancient and worn smooth by time. Each stone bore symbols like those that had appeared on the possessions of the missing. I approached cautiously, the Whispering Stone held before me. Through it, the clearing transformed. The space between the stones shimmered like heat, and within that shimmer, I saw people, or what had once been people. They stood motionless, their forms distorted. I recognized Jabari the twins, old Kamau, and others who had disappeared over the years. Their eyes were closed, expressions peaceful, but their bodies were changing, elongating, thinning, becoming more like the creatures that had taken them. As I watched, horrified, I heard a whisper behind me. Amara. I turned. Standing at the clearing's edge was a tall, thin figure taller than any human. Its face was a blank oval, featureless, except for deep indentations that seemed to swallow light. We've been waiting for you, it said, its voice a blend of many Jabari, the twins, my mother. I clutched my knife, though my hand shook terribly. What are you? What have you done to them? The creature tilted its head at an impossible angle. We are the nameless. We borrow names to become more. Your kind give names to everything, binding power with words. We ... collect. You steal people? I said, anger overcoming fear. We transform, it corrected. Those who answer our call choose to join us. They become part of something greater. They don't know what they're choosing, don't they? Every human feels the pull of the unknown, the desire to transcend their small existence. We offer that transcendence. It moved closer, fluid as water. You came willingly, Amara. You sought us out. Already, you are halfway to answering our call. I backed away, bumping into one of the standing stones. Through the Whispering Stone, I saw Jabari stir at the contact, his eyelids fluttering. Suddenly, I understood. The stones were anchors, holding the taken ones between worlds. If I could break that connection... They're not gone, I said. They're trapped. You haven't taken their names, Juve, only borrowed them. The creature went still. Clever child. But knowing changes nothing. Soon, the transformation will be complete, and they will truly be nameless, like us. And if I stop you, it made us sound like dry leaves laughter. You cannot. But we invite you to join them, to join us. No more fear, no more loneliness, only endless becoming. As it spoke, I heard voices calling my name from everywhere, its voice belonging to someone I loved. The temptation to answer was overwhelming. Instead, I began to beat my drum, creating a steady rhythm that cut through the voices. The creature flinched at the sound. Names have power, I said. That's why you need them. But mine belongs to me. I spoke the names of the taken ones, Jabari Kamau, Zuri and Zola, all of them. With each name, I struck the drum, sending vibrations through the clearing. The air between the stones shimmered violently. The trapped figures stirred, eyes opening. The creature let out a high, thin wail and lunged toward me. I scattered salt in a circle around myself and continued drumming and naming Jabari, son of Kumau, elder of Nyambani, Zuri and Zola, daughters of the dawn. The creature reached my salt circle and recoiled as if burned. The standing stones began to crack, thin lines appearing in their ancient surfaces. Stop, it hissed, its voice losing its human quality. They are ours. They are their own, I countered, my voice strengthening, and they are going home. With a final, powerful beat on the drum, I called out all their names together. The standing stones shattered. The creature screamed a sound like wind tearing through a canyon end, folded in on itself, collapsed into a point of darkness that vanished between one heartbeat and the next. In the sudden silence, I heard moaning. The people who had been trapped were lying on the ground, human again, confused and weak, but alive. Jabari was the first to rise, staggering toward me. Amara, is it really you? Yes, I said, tears streaming down my face. It's me. I've come to take you home. The return, leading the freed captives back to the village, was difficult. They were disoriented, memories fragmented. Some had been missing for years and struggled to walk or speak. But as we emerged from the forest at dawn, joy and disbelief filled the air. Families reunited. Stories were shared. Protective symbols were carved into every doorpost. And the warning was renewed. Do not answer if you hear your name in the dark. But there was something I didn't share with the others. As we left the clearing, I looked back through the Whispering Stone one last time. In the spaces between trees, I saw more tall, thin figures watching us go. And I knew with certainty that they were still there, still listening, still learning our names. Sometimes, on quiet nights, I still hear whispers outside my window. They don't use Jabari's voice anymore. Now they mimic my grandmother, my parents, my friends. I keep the Whispering Stone close. I renew my salt lines every evening, and I pass on the warning to anyone who will listen. Because the nameless are patient. They have existed for eons, and will exist for eons more. They watch. They listen. They learn. And they remember every name they hear. So remember this. When you're alone at night and hear someone call your name from the darkness, no matter how familiar the voice or how urgent it sounds, do not answer. Do not even whisper. Draw your circle of salt, close your eyes, and wait for dawn. 'Cause once they learn that you'll answer to your name, they'll never stop calling. And next time, I might not be able to bring you back.